Hello.
Da-da, da-da.
What up, homeboy?
What up, man? You my fifth victim, man, on the Spartan Dogs podcast, man.
I'm your fifth victim, huh?
Yeah, man. You don't get no prep work. I know you too well, so I don't call you ahead of time. I just ring you and say we recording live, man.
It's all good, Daddy. It's all good, man.
All right, so I'm on the phone with Shon Hart. Sean, where you heard a couple of the podcasts, man? You heard any of them?
Oh yeah, man. I heard two so far. I heard Ike's, and then I heard Bell's, which both of them was dope. Was dope, man. I thought you've been doing this for years, man.
Nah, man, I've been talking to y'all for years, but nah, this was just an idea. I talk to everybody. I'm in everybody business, so I always like to stay connected with everybody. And I thought this would be a cool way to kind of. I mean, I always get off the phone, talk to all y'all, then I talk to somebody else and tell them what we talked about. So I'm like, man, I might as well just record some of these conversations, and I think it'll be good for the group.
Yeah, well, I don't know if all those conversations were good to record, though.
Yeah. So anyway, so
No, I'm
like,
just joking. I'm
yeah.
joking.
So what we gonna do is we know it's Shon Hart from Elizabeth's finest. I don't care where I go. Anytime I meet somebody from New Jersey, I'll be like, I got a homeboy from Elizabeth. You know him?
Yeah, right. It's not that huge, man, but yeah. That's my spot, man. That's my hometown, dude.
All right, so where you at now, Sean? Where you living at now?
I'm in Flint, Michigan, man. I'm still here in Michigan. Thought I was leaving this place, man, but I wind up staying here in Michigan, man, making it my home, at least for the time being, man.
Yeah.
Michigan has been pretty good to me.
Okay, and then so after you graduated, you just stayed there. You never left.
Yeah, no, man, never left, man. Once I graduated, I just wind up, getting a job with the state, counseling, kids or whatever the case, man, and did that for a few years, and then went into my own entrepreneurial escapade.
Brick City, baby. You said,
Yeah.
So that's
It was bittersweet.
All right, so now typically on these things, man, I kind of like to get the little full circle and kind of work backwards and talk about what's going on, and then go back into some old stories. So for you, your sweetheart, you happen to meet at Michigan State, like Ike, right?
Yeah, I met my wife, man. At I was 2 years removed, and I met her at our old spot, man, at B Dubs, man. Met her over there back in 2000, man, and couldn't shake it ever since.
Really? So now how long have y'all been married now?
Actually, yeah, we've been married for 15 years now, man. We've been married 15 short years.
15 years.
And got 3 kids. Yeah, got 3 kids. I have 2 girls and a boy. My oldest is she'll be 14 next Thursday, and you are her goddaddy, brother.
Yeah, man, we've been
yeah.
It's been we I'm honest, man. I always tell Sean I've been a deadbeat godparent. I think that, I mean, not having a kid, I kind of didn't have a perspective, but ever since I had my daughter, I'm trying to do a little bit better. But I ain't, I think, the funny thing is I don't have any godparents for Ava, but it was kind of like I always thought that like a godparent, you ain't never said nothing about it. This is me kind of like self-assessing because you ain't tripping. But like I always said, it's like my thing is like I always like, well, if something happened, then Leah know who to call. That's when I'm supposed to show up. But having a daughter, I think it's important to establish the relationship. So if something does happen, that you do have that relationship. So I'm working on it, man. I'm trying to get out of the deadbeat godparent status, man. I'm working on it.
Nah, you all good, man. It's all good, bro. So yeah, then I got my middle child is Shelby. She's 9, and then my youngest is Levi. He's 5, man. So I'm rocking over here with 3 kids, bro.
All right. And then, so what are you doing now, man? Like, tell what we got to split this in half. We got the regular job, and then we got the passion or the hustle. So, the
Yeah,
regular job with the
yeah,
benefits,
yeah.
tell us what you're doing, man.
Yeah, the regular job with the benefits, man, that's working in the corrections institution, man. I started out as a prison chaplain, bringing religious services to the population, man. It's about 1,200 and something inmates there, and I had to service them with their religious needs, man, regardless if they were atheist or Muslim or Christian, Buddha, whatever the case, man. I provided that service. And then probably back in 2013, opportunity came open where I was able to promote and got into administration. And I've been the warden's administrative assistant ever since 2013. So that's what I've been rocking out with my benefits job, man. But
So what do you
has,
do? I mean, what's your job? I mean, what does that mean? That title? What do you do?
well, what that means, man, I am the warden's assistant. So anything that the warden needs, I deal a lot of what I do, man. I deal with the public. As far as dealing with public matters, like when you see tragedies take place, in the world, you have a spokesperson come on TV and talk about, this happened, that happened, good, bad, different. I do that for the prison, so if it was, escape or something of that nature, something major, I could possibly stand up and talk to the public on that aspect. If someone in Lansing doesn't do it. But I also work very closely, like with the Attorney General, like a lot of the legislators and policy. I oversee policy for the facility. So a lot of the grunt work, man, a lot of stuff that my supervisor, which is the warden's responsible for, I do it, So it's kind of cool, man. But, at the same time, man, I'm getting that itch, homeboy.
Right. So like on your stuff, I've always been curious, is like, how do you in one extreme per se at work or with a different
Yep.
group of people, and then you got to come home to the wife and kids. And it's like, how do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
shake that off, or what do you do? And then you ain't got a long drive or anything, right? So how do you kind of
Nah.
deal with
No.
that?
Well, the thing about it, man, is I would have to say is two things, Kurt. See, like when I was the chaplain, like real talk, man, I used to like go to work and get paid and the whole nine. And I'm asking myself, like, really, you getting paid to do this? Because that's what I love to do. I love to help people, So regardless of what they were incarcerated for, I felt that it was my job, my responsibility to help them get rehabilitated. So I didn't see it as a job. That was who I was at my core, So whereas, I did not read a lot of the inmates' files because I knew if I would read their file and know why they were there and what type of crimes they committed, I knew it could mess up my judgment how I would establish a relationship with them to provide services. So I did not read it on purpose, because it would be hard for me to sit in front of somebody who, raped a whole bunch of kids or, did some senseless crimes, and then he come in my office and I have to provide this service.
Right.
I mean, just naturally, I'm going to have those biases. So
Right.
I just did not, do it, so it was easy for me to go to work, to go and provide that service to them because I thought I was helping my community because, the real thing about it is that most of those inmates, they're not going to be there forever. You know what I mean? They just there for a few years. You got a couple who's doing life or super, long numbers like basketball scores, but most of them, they getting out. They coming back to your neighborhood or people, other people's neighborhoods. So I just saw it as, it's my job, my duty to help them when they get out to be able to make your community, not be a problem, but be, part of the solution. So it wasn't really a hard thing of leaving work and then coming home and not being able to switch the two because
Right.
I was doing what I love to do. But now it's gotten a little bit more difficult, not from the job aspect, but is more draining because I'm not using, my gifts or the things that I love to do, like far as helping people. Now it's more so like pushing paperwork.
Yeah.
So I don't get that satisfaction now, even though I can still kick it with the inmates and go back there and talk to them and hold some programs. But my 90% of my work duties, I'm doing paperwork. So it's still not a toll on my family. It's more of a toll on my mental state, if anything.
Right. Gotcha. All right. And then that's the main job, man. So tell us about the other stuff you got going on.
Man, I got a couple things going, man. Like I said, with the whole prison aspect, man, I just, working there, I just saw, so many of those inmates, man, just broken, just like grown men, just straight up broken, and I could relate to many of them, not from being incarcerated, but from where they came from and knowing their stories. Because when I went to prison to start working, I was broken and bitter myself, so me providing services and helping them talk through things, I'm thinking I'm helping them, but really I was helping myself, because when I went there, I was still broken from when my brother got murdered years ago. I was, I hated inmates and, all of that type of stuff, but it wasn't until I went there to serve them. And that's the way I looked at it. I looked at my job, I was serving them, but when I went there to serve, I found, myself in the midst, of that type of stuff. So when I looked at the big picture, I'm like, why am I only helping guys once they incarcerated? Why not do something to prevent them from getting here? So that's where I took that torch and that mantle and say, what, I'm going to spearhead and start a movement for fathers, because a lot of the inmates who's locked up, do not know their dad, or was not raised by their dad, or have dad issues. It was mostly raised by their mom or grandparents or someone, like that. And I just see a big problem in the world that we reside in, that, there's not a lot of dope dads, that's on the forefront. Society don't show dope dads, which there are millions of them, but they highlight a lot of deadbeat dads, like yourself, man. It's super exciting to see, checking out, hashtag, baby life, to see how you engage with your child. And you'll never know until she get older, like how you impact her life by just you being there. So that's what I do. I'm trying to equip some of these fathers who don't have the tools, and who does not have a safe place to go and start talking about some of the issues that are unresolved, about daddy issues or whatever. I make a safe place for them to come out and rock with me on Tuesday nights with my Man-to-Man University, where I get men in the community. They come and we sit down and I teach them about fatherhood, and we talk about manhood and deal with a lot of stuff that the church don't want to talk about. So my foundation, my nonprofit is Involved Dad, and that's what we do. We work with fathers to equip them to impact their families, even if they're in the house or not out, if they're outside of the house.
So going back, talking about your brother, like it's kind of like I think, like some people I look at in my life is like, one of the common things is, it could be sports or football. A lot of people that I'm still friends with, our initial bond was music, and
Yep.
And that's what you was about, like the hot music,
Yep.
New York, East Coast, and
Yep.
blah, 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 and all this stuff or whatever.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like, it's weird, like if somebody were to, hadn't seen you in the last 10 or something years, and they'd be like, they think of Shon Hart. He was at the parties, bruh. He was at all the parties. He was doing the dances.
Yes, sir.
He was trying to do you was trying to drink a 40, but you couldn't finish a deuce. You know what I mean? So like I remember, I do remember when your brother passed, because you scared the mess out of me, and I'm gonna let you tell that story about about what you think you saw.
Yeah, man. You know what I think, man? I know, man. That jump was crazy as heck. Dude, I was in your living room while you and I think Bill was in his room, and I was sleeping on the couch, and I'm sitting there, and and I can't remember it totally, but what I do know is that while I'm sitting there, this spirit, came out of nowhere, and like, in me, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking it's you, the whole nine, man, and I'm freaking out, dude. I'm a grown man. Dude, and I wanted to go in there and climb in the bed with your funky tail.
He gonna tell me. Yeah, my brother came and floated over me. I'm like, not in my apartment.
Yeah. No, but that one with two different ones. See, the one when I was in your room is when I was at your crib. that's where like the spirit would like start, making that noise. But the hovering part was in the dorm when it was me and D Mays in the dorm, and I was asleep, man. It felt like paralyzed, man, like the dude from Kiss was hovering on me, man. I opened my eyes, this dude was hovering, long tongue the whole night. I couldn't say anything, I couldn't scream. It was crazy. It was crazy, man. So that might have been the beginning where God probably started calling me, saying that you're going to be a demon buster or something. I just don't know, but it definitely freaked me out.
So I mean, now your brother's, his passing, it had an impact because it kind of changed, per se, or would you say, or that was kind of like the beginning? And
no, I would say, yeah, it did change me, man. It changed me in more ways than one. But I really didn't see the change until after football and stuff like that. Where I was able to put all of that, together. Because, like I said, once he died, I was hurt. I looked up to him the whole nine, and for somebody to take him from me, I was lost for a moment. I was definitely lost for a moment. So my perspective about, the criminal justice system and the whole nine, my thing was like, any inmate, anybody does anything wrong, dude, throw away the key.
Right.
Put them under the jail. Because, I just remember my dad, I never heard my dad cry, and here this grown man who I'm looking at is like, like Mr. Tough Guy, he's in the bathroom crying. I'm like, dude, you hurt my dad, and then I go to the court, and then the guy who killed your brother, he's in the courtroom smiling and laughing.
Right.
So it left something with me. But what I never told you, man, is that 2 years ago, might have been 3 years ago, man, is when I was really getting to the place about becoming, healed. I sent him a letter, forgiving him, telling him that I forgive him for what he did, and it took me a long time to be able to do that, and I wanted him to know that I support, I even support him getting out of prison. That I don't really want him to spend the rest of his life in prison. If he changed, I support him getting out and living a productive life. So I sent that letter to him, and it was huge for me. For me to move into my next chapter of life. So I had to let that go.
Right. Did he respond or anything, or you wasn't even looking for nothing?
No. I haven't got a response, man. And, I really don't care.
Right. You did it
but
for
that
yourself.
was something
right.
for me to do. Yep.
All right. So from New Jersey, I ain't never known New Jersey as a football for football per se.
We got ballers there, bro.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So how you end up at Michigan State, man? What was your final two, and what was the deciding factor? How you end up here?
Yeah. Well. Let me say this, man. I didn't choose Michigan State. Michigan State chose me.
Okay.
Because I ain't gonna say like most of us. I would say I was your typical teenager who all I cared about was playing football, going pro, the whole nine. So education wasn't important, to me. I just was like, just enough would be good enough. So, long story short, man, I was getting recruited, by multiple teams, but in the ninth hour, at the end of the, teams started falling off, and the reason why they was falling off is because of my grades. So, I started now at this point, I'm committing to anybody who's willing to give me a scholarship, because my choices got limited. So I thought I was going to Pitt, had a party, the whole nine. I said, I'm going to go be a Pitt Panther. Yeah, I guess Tony Dorsett and all those cats was there. It was close to the crib. And what's kind of crazy is that when Michigan State was recruiting me, I'm like, man, I'm not going to Michigan. It's country as heck.
Right.
I'm like going down that place. I'm like, dude, I'm just going straight East Coast somewhere, or something that's relatable. But at the last minute, man, Pitt came back and said, they're bored or whatever the case, that they were not able to get me in because of my grades and test scores and all of that. So I was on my way to a junior college in Pennsylvania. But what was cool, man, Coach Drisbeck, man, and I ran into him some years later because he got hired by Michigan State under John L. Smith. and I ran into him, man, and thanked him. But what he did, man, he called Bobby Williams. It was like, yo, that kid, Shon Hart, he's still available. If you got a scholarship, go after him. And I got a phone call from Coach Williams, man, and Coach Williams, how he be like, Shon Hart. And I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, you want to be a Spartan? So I'm like, man, I was playing video games. He told me that he can get me in. The whole that, man, I ran from my dude's house to my parents' house, and he said, let him work on some stuff. And I don't know the whole thing, but I knew they were able to take one at-risk student and, that type of stuff. And your boy was that dude, man. So I showed up at Michigan State. But
had you taken a trip there?
No, man, I ain't know, dude. This was crazy. It was so crazy. I never even took I already took all my 5 visits. But it was crazy, dude. When I showed up to Michigan State, man, my brother went and bought me, some hats and, all that type of stuff. Dude, I showed up. This before cell phones. So I showed up. I got out of the car. Man, I got a U of M hat on my head. and Coach Brady was like, man, you better take that dish off your head, man. I'm like, what? And he was like, dude, that's not where you at. You at the Spartan. And so I just sent it back home with my parents, man. I knew I wasn't going to Michigan, but I just didn't see anything wrong with wearing another team's hat. But I learned real quick that day that you don't do that. So I don't know if I ever told y'all that, man.
No, I didn't know that. So then you come into play what? What position you playing, bro?
I'm coming to play receiver, man, in special teams. My niche was special teams, man. That's where I was, the top in the country when I was coming out in special teams. That's what that's what most schools was recruiting me as an athlete, to come play some offense, but special teams was what I was my greatest strength.
All right, now, when you there, you redshirted. Did you ever try to leave? You tried to transfer? Did you not like it, or you was cool from the get go?
Nah, man. It was number one. It was crazy. I wanted to leave because I'm like, dude, this place is country, man. They wear guest jeans. They got Rockport. I'm like, yo, where's your Timbs? Like, where's my East Coast music? It was crazy. Dude, I used to go to the club. I don't know if you remember, man. I used to go with my headphones, listening to Biggie and, Black Moon and all those cats in my headphone. Everybody listening to that. Oh, work it. Oh. Like, man, what the heck is that, man? So, but anyway. But, yeah, I wanted to transfer from that aspect because it was, it was different. But then when once I started having challenges within football, I was going to transfer, and Ike and Derek and a lot of those cats, man, talked me out of it and talked me into staying, man. And although, it didn't work out the way that I wanted to, I'm glad I stuck it out, man, even with all of the trials that was connected.
So you was one of the people that you came in under Perlis and then ended up under Saban, or what? Or you was all Saban?
Yep. I came in under Perlis. And then when Saban came in, that's when, things started taking a turn a little bit.
Right. So how was that transition for you? I mean, you know what I mean? How was it going from one to the other?
It was different, because, it's a new sheriff in town. I didn't know him, didn't know much of him. But our initial meeting let me know who I was dealing with. And, and I got to tell you, man, especially at that time, I still had some personal issues, because when we had our initial meeting, Saban and he said some things in there, man, that triggered some stuff that I was dealing with. Because back in the day, my dad, long story short, my dad told me that I was too small to go D1. So that kind of crushed me, you know what I mean? Because I'm thinking that the person who, supposed to be in my corner is saying, hey, you don't have it, or whatever the case. So anyway, so that, that was a big thing for me. But when Saban came in, we had our meeting, and he's like, yo, I like big DBs. This when he came from Cleveland. He had Todd White and some of those other dudes. They was big as heck, 6-foot corners, which is the norm now. But when we were playing, 5'9", 5'10" was the average. So he come in, he like, yo, I'm changing things up. And if you want to, play, you might want to go out to the opposite side. So I felt rejected again, Kurt, from what he said to me, So I competed and I fought, the whole nine, and wind up getting the starting spot for a moment.
Playing
and then
corner, right?
Playing corner. Yep, I wind up starting. Was competing with Amp and Ray Hill and Lamar Marshall and those guys. And Amp wind up being, I think, ineligible that year, man. But I wind up starting on one side, and Demetrius Martin was on the other side, a.k.a. me.
Right.
But we wound up getting smashed by, I think it was Nebraska. And when we got smashed, man, that next week he challenged everybody, challenged me, and mostly everybody responded well. But yours truly didn't respond well, man. I took it personal. I had the mentality like, yo, you need me more than I need you. But I found out real quick that that's not how the game worked, man. And I just morphed into this cancer, homeboy. Morphed into a cancer on the squad, man.
I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean you didn't respond well? What did you do?
I just, my response to him, I stopped going 100%. I started coming to meetings late because I was feeling like a victim. I was feeling like, I was feeling bad. I was feeling like you picking on me. You know what I mean? I just didn't feel, I didn't think it was right for him to treat me that way. That was my mentality at that time.
Right.
Just like it's you, me not taking any responsibility for my response. It was my job to respond to his challenges, but I didn't respond, man. I gave up in so many ways, man. And for years, dude, it took years, and I hope I'm not going too fast for you, but for years, man, it was like once I graduated, dude, I didn't watch football for about 8-10 years, man, because I was so jacked up, dude.
So what did you started the first game and didn't start the next one, or what did it just went bad?
I started the first game. That next week, I still had my position, but we're supposed to compete, and I'm thinking, like, why do I have to compete? Initially you didn't want me to start. I won the spot, so I should keep it. Just give me the opportunity. Let me just keep it. I wasn't the only one who jacked up, but, like I said, mostly everybody else responded. Some other cats lost their spot, but they responded the right way. They went back out there to practice. They weren't pouting me. I was pouting, man. And I was never disrespectful. My mother didn't raise me that way, but I became disrespectful. I just, started talking back, and just my body language was just horrible. So I gave him permission.
You got put off the team or what? Eventually?
Actually, my going into my senior year, he was about to suspend me from the team where I could no longer come around the football building. I couldn't come around the building, couldn't come around the players, none of that.
And this is all because of your attitude?
Because of my attitude and my actions, man. Kurt, I was a cancer, man. I was a cancer. I just was not giving off no positive energy.
Okay.
I was just that dude that you wouldn't want to be around the program.
Right.
But I didn't see it. I still was, saying it was them, talking back, he cussing and, yelling at me, trying to motivate me, and I'm laughing at him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he's just like, yo, I got you. So finally, you're like, yeah, you can't come around. So my high school coach found out, and my high school coach like, are they trying to take this scholarship? And I'm like, yeah. So he calls over to the football building. Saban sets up a meeting. I go over there. We chop it up for a while. And he's like, yo, I like you, but your attitude, and, and I'm looking at it like, yeah, whatever, dude. But what he said, yo, I'm gonna let you keep your scholarship, but after this year, if you don't graduate, no summer school, none of that. This is all you get. And he said, if you want to stay on the team, if you want to play, you can play, but you're not gonna get any time. Or you can just keep your scholarship and be a regular student. So I took the latter. You know what I mean? I just kept my scholarship and just was a regular student, man.
Wow. All right. And then, so now you still are, connected to the program. You got a good relationship with Coach D'Antonio. I mean, from time to time, I think you go in and speak to the team or, lead the chapel service or something. So can you, how do you have a relationship with him, and how did you?
Because he was my DB coach, so he was there. He saw all of it.
But I'm saying, so like, if you was acting if you was being that horrible, why did he allow you to come back in? I mean, what was it about? What do you think how did y'all repair that relationship?
Yeah, what happened, Kurt, man, like I said, man, not to jump around, when I went to prison, man, when I started working at the prison, I start finding myself. And when I found myself, I start looking back like, dude, you were jacked up. You were horrible. So I started, reconciling relationships, and when he came, I reconciled that relationship. Like, I don't want nothing from you, but, I was horrible. So I just started taking responsibility. I started reaching out to people who I wronged and, how I behave. And D'Antonio was one of the ones, man. I'm like, I don't want nothing from you, but I just want to let you know, man, that I apologize. I was horrible, so I extended that branch, and he accepted my apology, man. He embraced me. And then when it was at a time when he was going through as well, that's when he was having his heart issues. And I was, very, I was into church a lot, on my transition to move into pastoral role. So I would send him text and, and words of encouragement and scriptures and all of that type of stuff. So at his breaking place is when I started reaching out, which allowed us to establish, a relationship again, because my jacked up relationship was more so with Saban, not with D'Antonio, even though D'Antonio saw all of it,
right.
But because I started taking responsibility, started getting active and letting my actions speak more than my words, he, put down the wall and said, okay, I'll allow you in. You're not that cantankerous kid anymore.
That's crazy. So you went from a cancer to the whole other extreme. So now can you talk about some of the stuff that you've done with the program and stuff like that, or?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I've done so far, man, is that he opened up the door for me to come and speak at their pregame services, like where they had their chapel service. I've been able to come in there and do that. And currently at this time, I'm talking to guests, Lorenzo guests, about me being able to come in there and start a program eventually. Because I know what it's like. I want to work with them so they don't become a cancer, especially those guys who's on the bubble.
Right.
The guys who getting sick, the guys who's living life. You're not going to have a whole lot of problems with them. It's those guys that support you, that can really mess your program up, so I want to prevent them from quitting, because there's still hope, so that's what I'm working with Lorenzo to hopefully eventually be able to go in there and work with them. But Coach D has been, nothing but supportive, especially with my new book coming out, that he, was willing and excited about writing an endorsement for me in my new book that I have coming out. And you wrote an endorsement for me too, my brother.
Right.
So I was, he gave me a call and said, hey, this is what I'm going to say. He read it to me, and I was like, Coach, this is super dope. I appreciate it. He was like, no, I believe in you. Keep up the good work, man. And the next day I had his endorsement, man. So I'm amped.
So on there, I think one of the things that was cool about it, you text me and was excited like you should have been. And then I'm like, call me. So we jumped on the call, but I took the thing from the conversation that it wasn't that, the fact that, he said he was going to do it and he did it, but you were excited because you was like, the way he wrote it, I know that he read all of those 40 something pages. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was crazy. Yeah. He said that he read like 40 something pages. And he was like, I even got something out of it, and that's where he wrote his endorsement out of. And I didn't expect him to read the whole thing. 40 to me was a lot, especially how busy, he is. But he said he read 40 something pages to be able to speak to what he want to write about, So I was just excited that he was, that he was like, I got something out of it. He said, he even saw where he got complacent. In one of the chapters I talk about complacency being your arch enemy, and he referenced that. So to let me know that he did read it, so I'm just like, man, that's what's up, man.
All right. And then so on us then we got like, like a big change when your brother passed. Then, I'm going to say we went through it when my wife passed. We went
Yep.
through it when my nephew passed, and then we recently went through it when your mom passed. So
Yep.
for mine, I think that and then when I got remarried, you was the officiant, right? And then you did
Yep.
the service for my nephew. Did you do something
Yep.
at Chelsea's or?
Yeah, with Chelsea's, no.
Oh,
No, I did the what you call them at Chelsea's, man. I did the scripture reading. Yeah.
right. So
Yep.
so for me, it's been I think one of the things on us is like, they, for people that don't know, back in the day, they used to act like Shon was my son and I was his daddy. He used to ride in my car and all that stuff.
That was definitely Ike and what's his name? Ike and Nigeria and Reggie. It's always, your daddy out there, your daddy outside.
Yeah, but you know what? One of the things that was funny with our relationship, we never talked about it. But my thing was like, even with what I do now, is I always say I never want to put a cap on anybody. And like I always talk to Jay Green about this, and even Alan about the program, where I think sometimes people form opinions on relationships that were from the 90s. And it'd be like the person that was leading in the 90s or the person that was getting all the acclaim or whatever, they ain't in that same position in 2017. So it's been funny, just talking to you where, it never was said. I never claimed to be your daddy. You never claimed to be my son or nothing. And it's been interesting just to see the growth and to be like, I kind of think about everything and everything's important to me. So like, even if I'm getting married, I don't want somebody that's just reading words that don't know me. And if, if my wife passed, I want a pastor that know me. And if my nephew passed, it's important to fly somebody in that know me and stuff like that. And then when I get remarried, it's important, to have somebody that know me. So I look at it where we started, and I never would have thought you would have been that person in that role. And I think, what was cool is I probably, like, when I normally used to talk to you, I cuss a lot. I probably used to cuss a lot. And then as you was making your transition, I transitioned my conversation. You don't never say nothing. You listen to the same music and do stuff like that. But out of respect of what you're doing, I've grown, with I hope you picked on it. I've grown as much as you've grown.
Absolutely.
And then it's allowed us to kind of to stay connected, because sometimes you outgrow, certain relationships or whatever. So I just want to say, like, looking from the outside, it's almost like I ain't like a proud parent, but it's been cool to kind of see it and to be like, he's writing these books, he's doing these, and then to even have it still to the point where you value my opinion enough to say, look at this for me, and check this out and look at this or whatever. So it's just been cool to kind of see that growth, man.
Yep. And man, that's definitely real talk there, man. I've always looked at you as definitely, man, if not a father, definitely, a big brother, somebody that I value your opinion, man. You've always been true, to not just to your word, man, but you've been true to you. And I know I'm speaking for, the whole crew, man. Guys, that's one thing I know that everybody can say, that Kurt, is true to himself, and you huge on family and relationships and friendships or whatever the case. It's not like you we guessing who we gonna deal with today or who we gonna what Kurt is showing up. We don't have to worry about that because we know who Kurt is, man. And I definitely, it's funny you say that, but I definitely recognize your not cursing as much and all that type of stuff, man. And I definitely appreciate that. But I've never been the type, man, once I got, saved or established a relationship with, with Christ, man, to make anybody feel like they had to change and make you feel condemned for you. I love you, for who you are. That's, your process, everybody else's process, man. So I don't kick people back in, because we all go through our transitions on our own, man. And I tell you, man, that the person who drove me closer to Christ, man, was D. Mace. Right. We was out, chopping it up in Philly and hanging out and doing those stuff when he was in the pros and, just having a great time. And then that next weekend he called me. He was like, yeah, I want to talk to you. I'm like, oh, what, you don't talk to me? You don't talk like that, like some serious stuff. And I'm like, what's up? He was like, yo, you know how you were behaving last week and, you cussing and you drinking. And I'm like, what? Like, what you talking about? Like, dude, this is what we do. He was like, nah, man, I'm one of different, because I just think back, that weekend when we were together, he wasn't doing any of it.
Right.
So I'm just like, wow, because I know me and him been through the trenches, up at state, in more ways than one. I'm like, for him to be at this status and at this place, I'm going to draw closer to God. And then Ike, he was doing some stuff with his players, with his teammates down there and at Philly. And I was like, all right, I got to do better. So those cats was huge in helping me make that transition to living a different, life, man. But back to you, man. I know you don't like all of these accolades, man, but dude, I owe a lot, to you, in that, man. So yeah, definitely.
All right, and then two more things. I always ask people, well, before I even get to that, I'll end with the Spartan Dawg name. But at your mom's funeral, like I said, I talked to everybody, and some of the guys, if I'd be like, had you called, and they was like, I don't know what to say, and they literally, they would be like, when you sit at the table, tell them I'm praying for them, and I said whatever, and I think we were sitting down and I might have told you to said this and all this stuff or whatever, but I don't even know if the order of it. But before I even said something, you made a comment and, you was just like, you can say what you said. I think you know what you said. You was like, it's important.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Can you talk about that? Or?
My thing was, I don't remember it totally in its totality, but my perspective on all of this, man, a lot of times people don't know what to say. They feel uncomfortable. So, so my thing is just for my brothers of being there, just for my brothers to saying, I'm praying for you, that's all that they need to be said, that they acknowledge, that's all they need, because I know it's uncomfortable for, people say, I'm sorry for your loss. And I understand, but just to acknowledge, makes me feel so much better because you're thinking of me, and I got so much love from, the dogs, man. And, Flozell, he couldn't make it, but he sent flowers, and it wasn't about people sending stuff or whatever, but you brothers, man, made me feel, really, really good. And before we transition, man, I have to speak, to Flozell since I brought it up, man. And I'm not going to go into the whole story because I know he's a private brother, but I'll tell you, Kurt, man, I owe a lot to Flozell as well, man. Flozell took a chance on me some years ago, and it didn't pan out the way that we planned it,
right.
And he trusted me,
right.
And our relationship got estranged for a minute, man, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, man. But I have to acknowledge, man, the God that's in him, man, how he forgave me, how Flo, because I was sick, man. I just didn't know how, to respond to the failure of our business, and I took the responsibility on me because, Flo,
right.
And Flo trusted me. So
right.
when it didn't pan out, man, dude, I just felt so jacked up, man. So for Flo to come back, man, and to, just let me know that, all right, some years pass, I forgive you, we can move on from here. Dude, you just don't know how I'm able to breathe because,
right.
I just did not want, you never want somebody to be angry at you.
Right.
You never want somebody to be pissed at you, all of that type of stuff, so I have to acknowledge, man, the Flozell, man, how he was a blessing to me, and my family, man. And it just showed the true meaning of Spartan Dogs, man. It is bigger than just moments, it's bigger than just incidents or where it's a lifestyle. It's a straight up lifestyle, man. It's what we do. It's like, Spartan Dawg is a band of brothers, man. It's relationship, it's friendship, it's ups and downs, it's crying, it's yelling, it's, the whole nine. We even had fights.
Right.
But at the same time, you better not, touch a dog. It's just that community, man. So just because I brought up Flo's name, man, I just
right.
wanted to, to recognize him, man, for being a blessing to me and my family and, and things being better today,
And
because of it.
then the other thing too. So can you talk about the impact that it had on your dad?
Say it again.
Can you talk about the impact of your teammates being there on your dad?
You say my teammate, man, when my mom passed.
Yeah.
When man, my dad was really having a difficult time when my mom passed. He still has his stuff, man, but man, he was like a kid in a candy store. You know what I mean? This dude, I was in the room getting dressed, and he like, hey, Kurt and Ike and Mel, and he was like, man, you just see like, a kid, man, just like, hey, all your friends came from where they live and they here. Man, my dad was just so super, 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 super stoked, man. He was just like, this made my day. And we had hundreds of people there. You saw hundreds of people there supporting my mom.
Right.
But I think my dad was more excited and more elated that you brothers was there than anybody else.
Right.
He just kept saying over and over, man, you brothers made my day.
All right, so here I go now. Before I get out of here, man, I ain't gonna let you off the hook without no story, bruh. So I'm supposed to do D Mace, but we didn't realize he was on Central Time, so I'm gonna have to reschedule.
I already know.
So you already know, huh? Yeah. So for y'all didn't know, D Mace.
They were his.
D Mace and Shon used to be roommates, man, and we used to stay in the dorm. They used to have that big cabinet or whatever, and it'd be over in the corner. And a lot of times people would move the cabinet and put the beds on top of each other or pull them down so they have more room. One day I go over there, and we about to rearrange the room. You know what I mean? We about to take down the bunk beds and move the dresser. So we get over there.
I think my phone is messing up.
We get over there to pull the dresser out, and man, there's some white drawers in the back on the floor with doodle stains all on.
I'm telling you,
somebody smutted up their drawers and tried. Y'all probably didn't want the other person to see them in the hamper, but they threw them behind the dresser. So to this day, if I talk to D Mace, he gonna tell me them was Shon drawers. Shon Hart, you a pastor, man. Whose drawers was behind the dresser?
See, you gonna throw that out there, right? But I'm telling you, they were D Masons, man. I'm telling you, dude. I did not wear tidy whiteys, bruh. I did not wear them, man. They was on his side. They was his. That thing was not good. Dude, he had tons of tidy whiteys. He didn't even wear boxers when we met. He didn't even wear them, man. Those was his all day. I think what happened, I was probably walking in the room and he hair up and threw them things behind and forgot to get them. Didn't know that we was about to move that stuff. Those was his nasty drawers, dog.
Okay. All right. So
yes,
we out on that story. I appreciate it. I'll holler at you. Oh, Shon, where can people follow you at on social media if they want to follow you and stuff like that?
They can go to my website and check out what I'm doing, www.shonhart.com, SHONHART.com. On social media, it's at Live Inspired. That's my motivational speaking company and life development portion with life coaching. So that's at Live Inspired. So they can check me out there on Facebook, or they can friend request me, man, Shon Involved Dad Hart. Shon Involved Dad Hart, man. So, thanks for what you're doing, baby. I appreciate you, man. I love you, man.
All right, love you too. I'll holler. Peace.
You got it.
Well.